what ends up happening is the public, like you guys, you're like, I know that name. I'm voting for that guy because I like that guy. What other Hall of Fame do they do that in? Every other Hall of Fame, they look at the numbers, whether it's baseball.
It's poker's most prestigious title. At least, that's what it claims to be. But if the Poker Hall of Fame is really the shrine for poker's greatest legends, why are some of the biggest names in the game still on the outside looking in? One player built the world's largest online poker empire. He couldn't even enter the United States for over a decade. Another played nosebleeds in Vegas, Macau, and online before many current Hall of Famers had even touched a card. One is the most successful female player in history, and yet none of them are in. Each year, only one person gets inducted into the Poker Hall of Fame. That's right, one. In a game that spans decades, continents, and millions of players, we honor just a single name per year. That bottleneck has created a traffic jam of legends and the criteria meant to guide voters, often ignored.
It's annoying every year. It's annoying to me because I'm a purist. I look at the actual criteria.
So who decides who makes it in? What exactly are the standards? And is the Hall of Fame still about poker excellence? Or is it just a slick PR play for the World Series of Poker? Today, we're breaking it all down. This is the real problem with the Poker Hall of Fame. The Poker Hall of Fame was created in the year 1979. It was the brainchild of Benny Binion, a casino owner in Las Vegas, and the man behind the original World Series of Poker. But make no mistake, this was never just about honor and legacy. From the very beginning, the hall had a second purpose: marketing. Binion wanted to draw tourists into his Horseshoe Casino, and what better way than to showcase the legends of the game on his own turf? The original inductees were a mix of real-life gamblers and poker folk heroes. There was Johnny Moss, the original 3-time World Series champion. There was Nick the Greek Dandalos, a flamboyant high roller known for epic duels with Moss. And yes, even Wild Bill Hickok, the gunslinger who died with aces and eights in his hand, made the cut. This wasn't just poker history, it was poker mythology. Over the years, the Hall of Fame passed into new hands. When Harrah's, now Caesars Entertainment, bought the World Series of Poker in the early 2000s, they inherited the hall along with it. Eventually, they built a physical gallery at the Horseshoe in Las Vegas, where framed portraits of inductees now hang above the tables. It's a shrine, a brand, and a photo op all in one. In theory, the Hall of Fame is poker's highest honor, a lifetime achievement award for those who've shaped the game. According to the official criteria, a player must have competed against top-tier opponents, played for high stakes, stood the test of time, and earned the respect of their peers. For non-players or contributors, the requirement is to have made a lasting, positive impact on the game. On paper, these standards sound impeccable, and many of the inductees absolutely deserve their place. Legends like Doyle Brunson, Phil Hellmuth, and Daniel Negreanu, as well as innovators like Henry Orenstein and Maury Escandani. The system is designed to reward excellence and influence, but the problem isn't with the ideals, it's with how they're applied, and with the structure that governs who gets in and who never does. Since the year 2020, the Poker Hall of Fame has allowed exactly one new inductee per year. Not two, not a class of 5, just one. This change was made under the leadership of World Series of Poker executive Ty Stewart, who argued that the hall needed to be more exclusive. His logic was simple: fewer inductees means greater prestige. On the surface, that sounds reasonable. In a game without a retirement age, the Hall of Fame is supposed to be a lifetime achievement award. Letting in just one person a year makes it feel like a rare and exceptional honor. But in practice, this policy has created a traffic jam. Poker is not a fringe hobby anymore. It's a global, billion-dollar industry with decades of history and thousands of elite players. The number of deserving candidates far outpaces the rate of induction. What was meant to preserve the Hall's prestige is now eroding its purpose. Consider the year 2023. Two names stood out among the nominees. First, Brian Rostenois, a high-stakes crusher with 6 World Series bracelets and 3 Poker Players Championship titles. Second, Isai Scheinberg, the founder of PokerStars, the man responsible for launching the online poker boom and bringing millions into the game. Both were, by any standard, Hall of Fame worthy. But under the one per year rule, only one could get in. The voters chose Brian Rast, and Scheinberg, who had already been passed over before, was left waiting again. The next year, the pattern repeated. Patrick Antonius was finally inducted, a long overdue recognition for one of Europe's most iconic players. But others, like Matt Savage and Vanessa Selbst, were sidelined once more. Each year, dozens of legends remain stuck in limbo, and with every passing season, the backlog grows. Daniel Negreanu summed it up best. It starts to feel like a game of Survivor. You're not just voting for who deserves it, you're voting for who can actually win that year's contest. In his own words, I vote for Isai, but then I know he's not getting in, so maybe I'm wasting my vote. A Hall of Fame should not force voters to strategize like it's a final table. It should let them honor greatness wherever they see it. Because when the rules force you to choose between deserving legends, you're not preserving prestige. You're manufacturing scarcity. And the price is poker's own legacy. If you scan the list of Poker Hall of Fame inductees, you might start to notice a pattern, or rather several. Most of the names are American. Most of them are men, and most built their reputations in live televised poker games rather than online. Despite poker's global expansion and digital revolution, the Hall of Fame still reflects an older, narrower version of the game. Let's start with nationality. As of the year 2024, only 9 of the over 60 inductees have come from outside the United States. Poker is now a global sport, with thriving communities in Europe, Asia, and Latin America, yet international players are drastically underrepresented. Players like Bruno Fatoussi from France, Humberto Brenet from Costa Rica, and David Chu, a 5-time bracelet winner born in China, have been nominated multiple times, but they've repeatedly been passed over. The assumption is that being less visible in the US poker media and less connected to the mostly American voting body hurts their chances. Then there's the gender gap. Only 3 women have ever been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Barbara Enright in the year 2007, Linda Johnson in 2011, and Jennifer Harmon in 2015. That's 3 out of more than 60, and none in nearly a decade. This in a game where Vanessa Selbst holds 3 World Series bracelets and is still the highest-earning female tournament player of all time. Or where Kathy Liebert, Liv Bory, Victoria Corin Mitchell, and Kristen Foxen have won millions and made history on both sides of the Atlantic. The online poker world is also conspicuously absent. For years, the Hall has ignored the pioneers who built and dominated the digital game. Phil Galfond, Tom Dwan, Dan Cates, all legends of the virtual felt, have yet to receive serious consideration. Even those who bridged both worlds, like Patrick Antonius, only recently got their due. And then there are the contributors. Isai Scheinberg is the clearest case, a builder whose platform changed poker forever. He literally launched the tournament that sent Chris Moneymaker to the main event and kicked off the poker boom. But some believe his past legal issues and rivalry with WSOP powers have made him a political liability. Despite support from players like Daniel Negreanu and Chris Moneymaker, he remains on the outside. When a Hall of Fame leaves out entire categories of legends, international stars, online icons, women, and industry pioneers, it stops being a true reflection of the game. It becomes a mirror of its own blind spots, and poker deserves better than that. Let's ask the uncomfortable question. Is the Poker Hall of Fame truly an independent institution meant to honor merit? Or has it become little more than a branding device for the World Series of Poker? The roots of the Hall were never completely pure. Benny Binion created it in the year 1979 as a way to draw people into his horseshoe casino. And today, decades later, its marketing function has only grown. The Hall of Fame is now entirely owned and managed by Caesars Entertainment, the same company that owns the World Series of Poker. It is their property, and it operates under their terms. Each year, the Hall of Fame induction ceremony is held during the main event. It provides the WSOP with a built-in PR moment, something to spotlight during broadcasts and social media. In 2023, Caesars even renamed the Horseshoe Poker Room to the Hall of Fame Poker Room and installed a new exhibit of inductee portraits. That may sound like tradition, but it's also branding. Powerful visual branding. This raises an issue of independence. Unlike sports halls of fame, which are often managed by neutral entities or historical societies, poker's version is run by the largest commercial operator in the game. That creates potential conflicts of interest. When the hall honors someone, it also benefits the company that controls it. Nowhere is this more obvious than in the voting process. The vote totals are never published. There is no transparency. The final decision lies with a small group, mostly existing Hall of Famers, and many of whom played during the same era, in the same circles, and in the same US-centric live environments. And when a figure like Isai Scheinberg, whose online empire once competed with the WSOP's dominance, gets passed over year after year, it raises eyebrows. The optics are hard to ignore. Why is a man who helped grow poker globally still waiting, while others with more comfortable affiliations find their way in? This is not about questioning the achievements of past inductees. It's about asking whether the process itself is fair, impartial, and forward-looking. A Hall of Fame should not feel like a corporate trophy case. It should feel like a community's highest honor, one that transcends politics, profit, and personal ties. Until it does, the Poker Hall of Fame will always sit uncomfortably between recognition and promotion, caught between what it claims to be and what it actually serves. The good news is this: the problems with the Poker Hall of Fame are not unsolvable. In fact, the fixes are clear, and they already exist in other halls of fame around the world. The real question isn't how to improve the system, it's whether the people running it are willing to change. The most obvious step is simple: induct more than one person per year. Not 10, not 20, just 2. One player and one contributor. Or, in years with overwhelming demand, a special class of 3 or 4. This alone would reduce the backlog and make sure deserving candidates do not have to wait a decade simply because they were born in the same year as someone more famous. This doesn't mean lowering the bar, it means recognizing that excellence in poker is not a zero-sum game. You can have multiple legends in one generation, just like you can have multiple legends in one induction class. Another major improvement would be to create clear categories. One for modern players, one for contributors, one for international icons, one for women. That way, you're not comparing apples to oranges. You're not asking voters to choose between a mixed game killer like Brian Rast and a game builder like Isai Scheinberg. Each can be judged by the standards appropriate to their contributions. Sports halls have used this model for decades. Baseball has its writers' vote, its veterans committee, and special panels for executives and umpires. Basketball honors coaches, players, and contributors separately. These systems are not perfect, but they make space for different kinds of greatness. Poker can do the same. Transparency should also be non-negotiable. The current black box voting system breeds confusion and suspicion. Voters should be identified, vote totals should be published, and near misses should be acknowledged. And if someone finishes second 3 years in a row, maybe that's a sign they deserve to be in already. And finally, poker needs to embrace its future. That means honoring online pioneers, it means inducting more women, it means including voices and players from outside the United States. Because the poker world is not just Vegas anymore. It's global, it's digital, and it's evolving. A Hall of Fame that reflects that reality would not only be more fair, it would be more respected. And that, more than any plaque or ceremony, is what true prestige looks like. The Poker Hall of Fame is meant to be a celebration of the game's greatest. A tribute to those who've defined eras, changed the industry, and inspired millions. And in many ways, it has done that. The names on the plaques are legendary. The stories are real, the legacy matters, but greatness doesn't exist in a vacuum, it exists in context. And the context around the Hall of Fame has changed. Poker is no longer a niche game played in smoky back rooms. It's no longer confined to American card rooms and televised final tables. It's global, it's online, it's inclusive, or at least it should be. And if the Hall of Fame wants to keep pace with the game it claims to represent, it has to evolve. Imagine a hall that inducts 2 people per year. One player, one contributor. Imagine a system that recognizes Vanessa Selbst for her unmatched dominance, Isai Scheinberg for changing the game's trajectory, and Bruno Fitoussi for spreading poker across Europe. Imagine a transparent process that allows fans to understand why someone was honored and why others were not. That is not a fantasy. That is entirely possible. And it is entirely necessary. Because the real problem with the Poker Hall of Fame is not a lack of candidates. Quite the opposite. The problem is a system that chooses artificial scarcity over authentic celebration. A system that prefers exclusivity over representation. And a system that too often reflects the biases of its gatekeepers rather than the brilliance of its players. But poker is a game of adjustments. It always has been. From Doyle's home games to online satellites, from poker on television to poker in the metaverse, the game adapts. And so should the Hall. To the fans, the players, the voters, and the companies that run the show, you have a chance to fix this. To honor the game's past without ignoring its present. To tell the whole story, not just the comfortable one. Poker deserves a Hall of Fame that reflects its diversity, its depth, and its dynamism. Not just a room of old photos, but a living institution worthy of the legends it claims to honor. Before poker was mainstream, it had to survive legal battles, political pressure, and a whole lot of misunderstanding. Here's how the game nearly got wiped out, and the unlikely heroes who saved it.